They raided the shit out of him.
What?
We're puffing.
And it was the Homeland Security.
Homeland Security.
That's some terrorist shit. Like
Yeah.
New York home.
You see how they went in there?
Home.
Like Jack Bauer and them niggas went in there looking for him.
And LA home.
I never seen someone get walked out the way they walked out, homie. Like backwards.
Back it up.
Yeah,
Come on out.
They don't play. Aggressive backwards, too.
Yeah, fast.
Get up here.
Back nigga. Back.
And it was a short dude doing it, too, so it was like... Now, some reports I saw said the New York home was included, and some didn't say
They
that.
said 3 homes.
Yeah.
All right, so
I
New
saw
York,
reports
New York,
saying
Miami,
homes.
LA.
And it said the investigation came out of New York, but...
Yeah.
We're seeing that large presence.
Joe Budden has stepped into the spotlight with a bombshell revelation regarding the scandal engulfing music mogul Diddy. In a candid moment on the Joe Budden podcast, he breaks his silence on the shocking sex trafficking allegations surrounding Diddy. His words are raw and unfiltered, painting a grim picture of the future of the Bad Boy Entertainment founder. As Budden pulls back the curtain on this unfolding drama, we're left wondering what led him to speak out now. Join us as we delve into Budden's explosive commentary and uncover the truth behind the shocking Diddy's sex trafficking allegations.
I'm talking about A-list of the A-list. Mm-hmm. Them last 2 or 3 puffy parties I've been to, A-list of the A-list. All sectors crossing, mingling, interjecting.
But before that, don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's begin. In a recent episode of the Joe Budden podcast, Joe Budden delved into several topics, including the explosive topic of the federal raids on Diddy's properties and Diddy's sex trafficking allegations. Budden's words painted a vivid picture of the intensity of the raids, describing them as thorough and aggressive. He highlighted the involvement of Homeland Security, likening their approach to that of seasoned operatives on a mission. Budden recounted the scene with dramatic flair, detailing how individuals were forcefully taken into custody, emphasizing the speed and intensity of the operation. The podcast episode delved into the specifics of the raids, mentioning that they targeted multiple properties belonging to Diddy, including homes in New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. The investigation reportedly originated in New York, leading to coordinated raids across the 3 locations. Despite initial denials by New York authorities regarding their involvement, the raids proceeded, indicating a significant development in the ongoing investigation. Budden's narrative was filled with intrigue, suggesting a level of foreknowledge on Diddy's part. He alluded to a video from the night before the raids, where Diddy appeared nervous at a party. This detail hinted at a possible awareness of the impending raids, adding a layer of suspense to the story. Budden's description of Diddy's demeanor and actions before the raids added a sense of drama, leaving listeners wondering about the mogul's state of mind and intentions. The podcast episode also touched on the aftermath of the raids, with Budden speculating on Diddy's whereabouts. He humorously suggested that Diddy might have fled to Haiti or be relaxing on a yoga mat with Russell Simmons. This lighthearted speculation contrasted with the seriousness of the allegations, adding a touch of humor to an otherwise tense situation. Diddy appeared noticeably jittery, his foot tapping nervously as he sat alone, looking lost. It was difficult to watch, almost as if the walls were closing in around him. Meanwhile, authorities have been tight-lipped about the specifics of their investigation into him, only mentioning trafficking. The involvement of Homeland Security and the use of federal warrants indicate the seriousness of the situation. They don't deploy resources like 3 helicopters circling above unless they believe they have a strong case. Tracking his private jet's movements, they monitored its journey from Lax, circling over it until it landed in Antigua, with him conspicuously absent. The podcast episode speculated on the implications of his jet's movements, suggesting a strategic move to create plausible deniability. Not being on the jet during its journey raises questions about who might have been aboard and their activities. While potentially providing a form of defense, this tactic casts suspicion and undermines any claim of innocence. The intense scrutiny and surveillance surrounding his jet's movements paint a picture of a high-stakes situation. The podcast host expressed a mix of sympathy and intrigue, empathizing with his apparent distress while dissecting the strategic implications of his actions. The narrative unfolded like a thriller, with each detail adding to the intrigue and speculation surrounding the investigation. During the podcast, Budden engaged with his colleagues, discussing the gravity of the situation. particularly regarding plausible deniability with a private jet. He dismissed the idea that one could easily deny knowledge or involvement when lending out a private jet, suggesting that it's not a casual arrangement where someone can simply take the keys and use the jet for dubious purposes. He also mentioned an unverified report linking someone named Kais, possibly a close associate, to the jet, highlighting the complexity of the situation. The conversation then turned to the public perception and media coverage of the events. Despite reports suggesting otherwise, Budden emphasized that there was no evidence to indicate that Diddy was on the run or that he had been charged with any crimes. However, he acknowledged the seriousness of the situation, predicting that it was only going to worsen. His colleagues echoed this sentiment, describing the impending fallout as bad, with an eerie silence surrounding the case adding to the tension. Budden and his colleagues delved into the significance of this silence, particularly from prominent figures who have attended Diddy's parties in the past. They noted that these parties, attended by A-listers from various industries, had been memorable events, suggesting a level of intimacy and familiarity among the guests. The sudden quietness from these individuals in the wake of the raids was striking, hinting at a shared apprehension or fear. The podcast hosts speculated on the implications of this silence, suggesting that it could be due to a sense of fear or caution among those who have been associated with Diddy. They reflected on the lavish nature of Diddy's properties, now under scrutiny, and how they had been venues for extravagant parties in the past. This juxtaposition between the past revelry and the current investigation added a layer of intrigue to the unfolding story. Another co-host chimed in, highlighting the potential for incriminating recordings or evidence that could have been captured during the parties at Diddy's properties. Budden agreed, acknowledging that while he had enjoyed himself at these events, he had been cautious to avoid being recorded or photographed, feeling a sense of relief that there was no evidence of his presence. However, he pointed out the stark contrast for those who may have been less careful, emphasizing that they would likely be feeling intense anxiety given the raids on all three homes. Budden then shifted the conversation to the susceptibility of individuals in the music industry to compromising situations, particularly when under the influence of drugs or alcohol. He suggested that many individuals in the industry engage in risky behavior and put themselves in compromising positions to advance their careers. He also hinted at the allure of Diddy's persona, describing him as intoxicating, euphoric, and seductive, suggesting that his influence could lead individuals to make questionable decisions. The discussion touched on the behavior of rappers, executives, showrunners, and network personnel, with Budden implying that many in these positions engage in behavior that could be exploited. He hinted at the prevalence of predatory behavior and suggested that some individuals in power may take advantage of their position to manipulate others. He also suggested that some individuals may be complicit in covering up wrongdoing out of fear or loyalty. Another co-host countered this argument, suggesting that the silence from powerful individuals was not surprising, as many may have been potential participants in illicit activities or may have personal relationships with those involved. This co-host a reluctance to speak out against powerful figures, fearing repercussions that could impact their entire lives. Joe Budden expressed his thoughts on the situation, noting that while he didn't find it surprising, he felt that it was significant and spoke volumes about the industry's dynamics. He emphasized that those involved likely understand the importance of maintaining good relations with powerful figures, suggesting that they wouldn't want to bite the hand that feeds them. However, he also acknowledged that if someone were to be caught up in a scandal, it would likely prompt discussions among peers. Reflecting on the unusual quietness surrounding the situation, Budden remarked that the lack of chatter was striking, especially compared to the usual buzz surrounding less significant news stories. He emphasized that the silence was abnormal, hinting at underlying tensions or concerns within the industry. He also hinted at the complexity of the situation, suggesting that Diddy's status as an A-list figure added an element of uncertainty to the unfolding events. Budden then lightened the mood with a humorous comment about the demise of the Freak, a reference to the wild and extravagant parties of the past. He lamented the loss of these gatherings, noting that it would be challenging to recreate the same atmosphere of uninhibited revelry in the current climate. His comment added a touch of levity to the conversation while underscoring the broader theme of change and uncertainty in the industry. One of the co-hosts redirected the conversation, emphasizing that the focus should remain on the serious issue of trafficking. They echoed Joe Budden's earlier point about the significance of silence, suggesting that it prompts a closer examination of individuals and their possible involvement in illicit activities. Joe expresses a sense of scrutiny towards those who remain silent, questioning their motives and potential participation in questionable activities. He highlighted the importance of taking stories about trafficking seriously, particularly in light of recent discussions about reparations and past injustices. Another co-host indicated that revelations about the prevalence of trafficking could prompt a reevaluation of past events and individuals' actions. They emphasized the need to approach such topics with gravity and a willingness to delve deeper into uncomfortable truths. Joe Budden concluded by noting that discussions about trafficking have been taboo for too long, suggesting a need for more open and honest dialogue. Their remarks underscored the gravity of the situation and the need for a more thorough examination of the issues at hand. Guys, with Joe Budden's explosive revelation as regards Diddy's sex trafficking, do you think Diddy could escape the consequences of his actions? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to check out the next video if you don't know that. Richard Pryor bodyguard warns Kevin Hart black celebs. Every artist at the end didn't have SHT. Then, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next celebrity gossip.